Hey guys, how you doing? Just a quick video here. So the Hamas-Israeli war, the fundamental problem that underlies all of this is that both sides cannot agree on reality, right? I am sympathetic to the whole situation. I don't know what's really happening though, because the Israelis say one thing, the pro-Palestinians say the other thing. They both contradict each other. I don't know what's true. That's the problem. So the point of this video is to point out how this is a conflict that is rooted in the fundamental structures of our brains. It actually points to how we operate as humans, well, just about all animals. And that is to say is that our brains will have an interpreted view of reality based on our biases, tribes that we're in, and so on. This is a function of our lower brains, our lizard brains, which most people don't realize actually controls the show. We like to think of ourselves as cognitive thinkers, logical people. If you actually look at the data, the science behind it, most of the time, especially when it comes to big decisions, logic has nothing to do with it. So when you look at the Hamas-Israeli conflict, you listen to one side, they both sound reasonable in isolation, but then they contradict each other. The problem I have, and I think most people, if they step back a little bit, it's really hard to say who's at fault, because I don't know what the facts really are. And the reason I don't know what the facts really are is because everybody's presenting their version of the facts. And unfortunately, there is an objective reality out there, no question. The problem is our brains, the way they are designed, is that they will alter our perceptions of the objective reality based on our biases and the tribes we're in and emotions and so forth. Ask any cognitive psychologist, they'll say, yeah, you can see these all study after study after study after study after study, peer-reviewed, etc. This is 100% the case. So I feel terrible for everybody in that situation. For me, the way I would resolve it is I try to get people who are trained in isolating their lizard brains to look at this thing and try to resolve it. But I don't, good luck with that. So are people being dishonest in the discussion on both sides? Are some people lying on the Israeli side? Are some people lying on the Palestinian side? Maybe, could be. But again, because of the lizard brain, they may feel justified in lying because they feel that the lie, even though that in that particular situation may be a lie or an exaggeration, or etc., but they may feel it's still, that lie represents the broader truth. So that then they rationalize, okay, that's not really a lie. That could be happening. That happens. What is probably more likely happening, though, is that their brains are literally changing their perception of reality to suit their particular tribe and the side that they're on. So they literally believe what they believe. And you see this in every conflict just about, right? Yes, there could be people lying, being dishonest, but it could be good faith actors on both sides who are just not seeing reality the same way. They're not crazy either. Neither side is crazy necessarily in that situation. It's really about, it's just the way our brains work. So if you understand your lizard brain and your monkey brain versus the cognitive brain, so the primitive versus the advanced brain, you know, anybody who studies this stuff knows that the primitive brain has no capacity for logic. It's like zero. The primitive brain, in scientists they'll refer to as the lizard brain, this primitive brain has no capacity for logic, so it maps out reality based on associations. In software development, we call this, we call it associative arrays, giant associative arrays. Now, the problem with associations is that they don't always reflect reality on the ground. Sometimes they're pretty accurate, sometimes they aren't. That's the problem. Anyway, so, and the associative array mechanism of our lower brain can be fooled through a process of repetition. There's an old rule in marketing, it's the rule of seven. Rule, R-U-L-E, of seven. 7 exposures will start to convince our lower brain, our monkey brain, our lizard brain, will start to convince it that this association has some sort of logical truth to it. So for example, car companies, if they wanted to sell cars to young guys, they would have car commercials where they'd always have a beautiful woman in the commercial. Why? Because they wanted to create association between their car and beautiful women. Even though on its face and in a logical, if you look at it logically, this car and a beautiful woman, there's no real association there, generally speaking. Although you could argue that if you have a really nice car, you attract more women, certain types of women anyway. But that being said, it's not logical, right? But our lizard brain doesn't have the ability to understand logic. So it just says, oh, that's this car, beautiful woman, this car, beautiful woman. Oh, if you get this car, there's going to be a beautiful woman, so you better get that car. Because the primary motivator of the lizard brain is, of course, besides survival, is procreation. So everything revolves around that, by the way. Anyway, so association is a shortcut mechanism. It's a nice mechanism that the brain, the lower brain, the primitive brain will use to map out reality. And so it works a lot of the time, but sometimes it can be fooled. So there you go. So that is a fundamental flaw in the lizard brain. So it can be fooled, and associations and realities can be, a picture of reality can be painted as false. Marketers can do that. And therein lies the root of the problem. So, well, that's number one. Number two, if you're in a particular tribe, you will tend to favor your tribe over the other tribe. So I've seen it in politics over the world where one side A, they'll do action A, and the other side will condemn that action. That is terrible. And then you flip the roles, and side B, which was accusing side A of leader of something terrible, when side B, when their leader does the exact same thing, they'll say, well, it's different, right? Because their brain is literally transforming things to see things differently. Anyway, my battery's about to go, so to resolve this issue, I think to getting in the weeds of the politics will probably not be very effective. It hasn't been for decades, so I don't see why it would be effective now. I think you would have to go deeper down into the lower brain and take action accordingly based on the understanding of how the brain works, and then start looking at things accordingly. Anyway, I could go on for a while about this subject, but yeah, that's my take. I hope everybody comes out of this well. Unfortunately, it's not going to be the case. All the best, everybody.